The road to the president's residence is sealed with barbed wire. Security forces line the streets. Not for a state visit. Not for a foreign threat. But because of the people, the very citizens who elected him. In the heart of Nairobi, thousands of young Kenyans are rising. They're not just protesting taxes. They're protesting a system they say has abandoned them. A system that promised jobs and relief, but delivered poverty and silence. President William Ruto is under siege, not from foreign enemies, but from the voices of his own people. The Finance Bill 2024 was the tipping point. It proposed new taxes on essential goods, fuel, bread, sanitary products, even diapers. For a struggling population, this wasn't just bad policy. It was provocation. Across social media, one message spread like wildfire: we are tired. And that tiredness turned into a movement. From Nairobi to Nakuru, Mombasa to Kizii, young people took to the streets. They chanted. They marched. They occupied public squares. What started as a peaceful protest soon met riot shields, tear gas, and rubber bullets. And yet, they returned. Every time the government tried to silence them, they came back louder. This wasn't just a protest. It was a declaration of generational defiance. Security was tightened. The road to State House, Kenya's seat of power, was barricaded. Not by choice, but by fear. Because for the first time in years, the government wasn't facing opposition from politicians, it was facing the people. University students marched with placards. Tech-savvy youth organized on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. They raised money, coordinated safe zones, shared medical help. They weren't just protesting. They were building a resistance. Meanwhile, the president remained largely silent. He praised the right to protest, but condemned what he called chaos. For many, this wasn't enough. Words could not erase years of broken promises. The protesters' demands began to shift. No longer was this just about a bill. It became a call for accountability. A call for leadership change. Chants of "Ruto must go" echoed across the capital. The symbolism could not be missed. Barricades around the president, open streets full of protesters. Power protected by metal fences. Truth marching in sneakers. Comparisons flooded in. This looked like Nigeria's #EndSARS, where youth rose up against police brutality. It echoed Sudan, where the young toppled a dictator. It reminded many of Burkina Faso, where a youth-led uprising reshaped the nation. In each case, the trigger was different, but the force was the same: youth who refused to be ignored. Kenya is now at a crossroads. The world is watching. The barricades may hold back feet, but they cannot hold back frustration. On the ground, the atmosphere is tense. Police patrol rooftops. Drones hover. Protesters organize first aid stations. Every day feels like it could be the turning point. Or the tipping point. Some fear things could turn violent. Others believe this is Kenya's awakening. One thing is certain: this generation is not backing down. They've turned the streets into classrooms. They're teaching each other civics, rights, and strategy. In a country where many feel voiceless, these protests have become their microphone. But will the government listen? A growing number of civil society groups, religious leaders, and even international voices are urging dialogue. Yet the silence from the top continues. Behind the barricades, a leader sits in isolation. Outside, a movement gains strength. There's a clear message in the air: barricades won't protect you from a nation's pain. You cannot govern people who no longer believe in you. The finance bill may have sparked the fire, but it's the system that's burning. As the protest wave grows, Kenya faces two futures. One where leaders confront the crisis head-on, with humility and reform. Or one where they continue to hide behind fences, watching the nation unravel. This isn't just about 2024. This is about what kind of country Kenya wants to be in 2030, in 2040. Right now, Kenya's youth are shaping that future. With their voices, with their courage, and with their feet on the streets. No one knows how this ends. But one thing is clear: Kenya will never be the same again. What's happening in Kenya right now isn't spontaneous. It's the result of years, decades, of frustration boiling under the surface. Young Kenyans have grown up watching leaders promise development while unemployment soared. They've been told to be patient while corruption scandals multiplied. They were told they are the leaders of tomorrow, but tomorrow never came. Now they're demanding that tomorrow start today. What makes this moment so different is that it's not being led by opposition parties. It's not sponsored by billionaires or foreign actors. It's organic, raw, authentic. These are ordinary citizens, students, hustlers, content creators, job seekers, artists, coders, nurses. Their tools are not just banners and chants. They're using live streams, hashtags, threads, and Telegram groups to stay one step ahead. It's a decentralized movement, hard to crush, impossible to ignore. The government tried to label them as anarchists. But footage from the streets shows young people picking up trash after protests, creating food distribution points, even forming safety corridors for women and children. This isn't anarchy. This is organization. But the government's response has raised alarm bells. Reports of internet throttling, allegations of police brutality, protesters arrested at night. Fear is being used as a weapon, but it's failing to stop the movement. Each act of violence only adds fuel to the fire. The more they are attacked, the more they grow. Kenya's capital is now a chessboard. Protesters move in masses. Police reposition. Roads close, then open. There's an eerie rhythm to the resistance. Even the symbolism has power. The barricades outside State House are more than just metal and wire. They're a message that the leaders fear their own citizens, that the halls of power have become fortresses. That connection between government and people has been severed. But beyond the barricades, a powerful story is unfolding. In Kibera, one of Africa's largest slums, young organizers are setting up community kitchens. In Nakuru, teachers are helping youth print protest flyers in local languages. In Mombasa, elders are joining marches, saying, "We walked in the struggle before, now we walk again." This is no longer a youth movement. This is a people's movement. And the world is starting to pay attention. International media outlets are covering it. Diaspora communities are holding solidarity rallies in London, Toronto, and New York. Hashtags like #RejectFinanceBill 2024 and #RutoMustGo have trended globally. Kenya's streets are becoming part of a larger African story. A story of rebirth. A story of reckoning. We've seen this arc before, when South Africans said no to apartheid. When Burkinabe youth chased Blaise Compaoré from power. When Sudanese protesters ousted al-Bashir. But the Kenyan story is still unfolding. There are fears, of course, that the state might crack down harder, that more blood might be shed, that infiltration and chaos could derail the message. But so far, the youth have shown restraint, discipline, and strategy. This isn't just about rage, it's about responsibility. About reclaiming a broken future and shaping it on their terms. Many now question, where is President Ruto? Why hasn't he come out to face the people? Where is the leadership when the nation trembles? Behind the gates of State House, silence hangs heavy. Public addresses come late and feel detached. The barricades speak louder than his words. Leadership is not proven in comfort. It is revealed in crisis. The people are waiting. But not passively. Already, alternative proposals are being drafted by civil society. Legal teams are preparing court challenges. Artists are creating protest songs. Teachers are explaining civil disobedience in classrooms. This movement isn't just shouting in the streets. It's building something underneath. The longer the government delays engagement, the stronger this wave becomes. And this isn't just Kenya's internal problem. If this explodes, it could send ripples across East Africa. Neighboring governments are watching closely. Some are worried. Others are inspired. Because what's happening in Kenya isn't just about taxes. It's about dignity. It's about the social contract. It's about whether African governments truly serve their people, or just rule them. And in that struggle, Kenya's youth are not backing down. They've turned resistance into routine. They've made protest part of their daily lives. And they've shown the power of unity in a time of crisis. But every protester knows, the risk is real. There's fear that government agents could provoke violence. That misinformation could flood the internet. That the movement could be hijacked. But despite those threats, one truth remains. The barricades won't hold forever. The youth have tasted power, and they won't forget it. Kenya's youth are not just marching for today, they're fighting for generations to come. For the child born tomorrow who won't have to protest to be heard. For the student who won't have to leave the country to chase opportunity. For the mother who won't be taxed into poverty just for feeding her child. And while barricades can stop cars and people, they cannot stop ideas. What's spreading through Kenya right now is bigger than any bill. It's the awakening of civic consciousness. It's the realization that power isn't just found in parliament. Power is in the streets, in the voices, in the collective heartbeat of the people. From every chant, every placard, every live stream, there's a message: we are not afraid anymore. The movement has birthed new leaders. Not the usual faces with political ambitions, but poets, medics, photographers, coders, everyday citizens who found purpose in protest. People who never thought they would lead are now guiding thousands. And perhaps that is the most powerful part of this uprising: no one owns it. No single person can be arrested to shut it down. No party can claim it. No spin doctor can rebrand it. It belongs to the people. As international human rights organizations issue warnings, the government's next steps will define Kenya's global image for years to come. Will it listen? Will it open dialogue? Or will it double down with more barricades, more silence, and more force? Already, cracks are showing inside the system. Some MPs have withdrawn support for the bill. A few governors have cautiously backed the youth. There are murmurs of resignations, reshuffles, and high-level emergency meetings behind closed doors. The pressure is working. But the movement knows better than to celebrate too early. They've seen promises before, made in front of cameras, broken in the dark. So this time, they're demanding more than words. They want repeal, resignation, reform. They want change that doesn't come with fine print. Across Kenya's neighborhoods, something is happening that no bill can stop: unity. People are sharing food, shelter, legal help. Tribal lines are fading. Religious barriers are dissolving. For once, the nation is speaking with one voice. And that voice is saying, this country belongs to us, not just to politicians in suits and armored convoys. This movement will be remembered. In textbooks. In documentaries. In songs sung long after this moment has passed. Because whatever happens next, Kenya has already crossed a line. The youth have tasted collective power. They have learned how to organize, how to lead, how to rise. And even if the finance bill is withdrawn, the spirit of resistance will remain. A new generation has found its voice, and it's not going quiet again. So what now? The world watches. Africa watches. Even leaders in Europe and America are watching closely. Because what happens in Kenya won't stay in Kenya. It will echo across borders. It will inspire others. And it will remind the world of a powerful truth. You can lock the gates. You can call in the army. You can raise barricades around the president's house. But when a nation's youth rise, when their dreams are stronger than their fear, no wall can hold them back. In the coming days, everything will hinge on how the government responds. Will they continue to treat these voices as threats, or finally hear them as cries for change? Will they stand behind riot shields, or step into the streets to meet the people they swore to serve? Kenya's fate will not be decided by a speech or a press conference. It will be decided by whether those in power recognize that they are now outnumbered, not by violence, but by vision. A vision held by the youth. A vision where power is accountable. Where leaders serve, not rule. Where streets are not cleared with tear gas, but cleaned by citizens who love their country enough to demand better. This is not just a Kenyan story anymore. It is a warning and a blueprint for every nation that ignores its young. When the future is ignored long enough, it stops waiting. It knocks. Then it breaks the door down. The youth are that future. And in Kenya, they're already inside. What began as a protest is now a declaration. A declaration that Kenya will not be ruled by fear. That barricades cannot stop dignity. That this country, its pain, its hope, its soul, belongs to its people. You can shut down the internet. You can arrest organizers. You can block the road to State House. But you cannot stop a generation that has already decided. They are not going back. Not to silence. Not to suffering. not to false promises. And now, the world waits. Not just to see what happens next in Kenya, but to see whether this uprising will light a fire across a continent. If change is coming, it will not come quietly. It will sound like chants in the streets. It will look like raised fists and unbroken spirits. It will feel like freedom, still distant, but finally within reach. The barricades are still up, but so are the people. And in the battle between fear and hope, Kenya has chosen to fight. Kenya's moment has come. But every revolution carries risk. The energy on the ground is electric, but fragile. One wrong move, one spark of violence, could derail the entire movement. That's why so many youth organizers are preaching peace, not chaos. Order, not destruction. They know the eyes of the world are watching, but more importantly, they know that history is watching. This isn't about headlines. It's about legacy. And legacy is what they're now building. Across the country, makeshift protest art is appearing. Murals on crumbling walls, slogans in graffiti, sculptures built from scrap metal. They read, "We are not the problem. We are the solution." Your children are in the streets. Will you shoot them too? Kenya is ours. Not theirs. Ours. The protests have birthed new cultural expressions, spoken word performances, viral protest songs, photography collectives capturing the soul of the uprising. Artists are becoming activists. Activists are becoming leaders. And all of them are becoming a movement. In rural areas, where media barely reaches, the spirit of resistance is spreading through WhatsApp voice notes and handwritten posters on village doors. It's not just a Nairobi thing anymore. It's national. It's generational. Some elders still hesitate, fearing the cost of rebellion. They remember the brutal crackdowns of the 1980s and 1990s. They whisper warnings to the youth, "Be careful." But the youth whisper back, "We are not afraid." They're not reckless. They're resolved. And their message is cutting across tribal, religious, and class lines, something rare in Kenyan politics. For once, it's not about where you're from. It's about where the country is going. And if the president is listening, he should know this. This generation isn't seeking his destruction. They are seeking his accountability. They want leadership that listens, not hides. That protects, not profits. That uplifts, not punishes. The barricades around State House may stand for days or weeks. But every day they stand, they remind the public of the distance between the people and their leaders. That's what's at stake now, trust. And once lost, trust is hard to rebuild. This is a test not just of President Ruto's leadership, but of Kenya's democracy itself. Can it withstand a popular uprising without collapsing into violence? Can it absorb criticism and change course without crushing dissent? Can it listen, truly listen, to its youth? The choices made in the coming days will echo for decades. And not just in Kenya. In Kampala, young Ugandans are watching. In Addis Ababa, young Ethiopians are watching. In Harare, in Kigali, in Lusaka, the youth of Africa are tuned in. Because Kenya was supposed to be the tech hub, the innovation capital, the model of democracy. If even Kenya's youth are in the streets, what does that say to the rest of the continent? It says one thing: enough. Enough corruption. Enough silence. Enough pretending tomorrow will fix itself. No one is coming to save them. They are saving themselves. So what happens now? Maybe the bill is withdrawn. Maybe it's passed with changes. Maybe Parliament falls. Maybe it doesn't. But even if the protests end tomorrow, something irreversible has already happened. The fear barrier has broken. The civic muscle has grown. The youth have found each other, and their power. And once a generation finds its voice, it never unlearns how to speak. So to every leader watching this unfold, if you want to lead Africa into the future, start by listening to the ones who own that future. They don't want your seats. They want your service. They don't want your money. They want their dignity. And they are not going away. Not now. Not ever. Because the barricades will fall. But what rises next? That's what history will remember.